it was like a little truck, but it had really big wheels on it, and it would roll, and he had a remote control. And what would happen is it would go, if it ran into a wall, it would flip over and keep going. If it ran into something, it would just kind of go over everything. And the wheels would turn and flip and all that. And it was a great little toy, but it was a cheap toy. We bought it at the flea market in California. And naturally, the toy broke. And so this little boy brings this toy to me with full confidence that I could fix this toy.
Yes, Dad.
He brought it to me with this look in his eyes like, Dad, my toy is broke. Please fix it. And I'm looking at this toy and I'm like, okay, I'll change the batteries. I'll do all this stuff. But I had no idea what was wrong with this toy.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is all of a sudden the toy started working and he looked at me like, wow, Dad.
My hero.
To this day, I have no idea what happened to that toy, but all of a sudden it just started working. And listen, at least for the next couple of days, I was the greatest dad in the world.
Welcome to Get Real with Alexis Jones. On this podcast, we'll dive into real relationships with real people guided by the wisdom and perspective of some of the most seasoned voices in our community, our beloved seniors. Each week, we'll unpack the joys, challenges, and lessons learned about love, family, friendship, and everything in between. This is a space for heartfelt conversations, eye-opening truths, and powerful stories that will inspire and challenge the way you think about relationships. We're keeping it honest, unfiltered, and deeply meaningful. So settle in and let's get ready to get real. Let's jump in. Well, today's episode is extra special for me because today I get to sit down with someone who's been more than a brother to me. He's been a friend. He's been a confidant. He's been my ride or die. And honestly, he's been a second dad to my own two boys. Before he ever had kids of his own, he was right there helping me to raise mine. He showed up with love. He showed up with advice, encouragement, protection, motivation, and sometimes a little bit of money. I still think I owe him, but long as I owe you, you'll never go broke.
That's right. That's right.
I admire him because, as I said, he's not just a brother, but as a man who's become an incredible father in his own right. He's inspiring, he's giving, and he's living proof that fatherhood isn't about being perfect, but about being present. Because he's been there present for his own children, and as I said earlier, he's been there for mine. So today, I get to celebrate not only a great dad, but one of the best brothers any sister could ever ask for. So welcome to the mic, my brother, my hero, Dr. James R. Cooper Sr., who I call brother or Jimmy. Today, I don't know which one of those terminologies I'll use, but know that he's my brother. I get to call him what I want. Welcome, brother.
Hey, it's good to be here.
Yeah.
Not like I don't talk to you every day, but today is different because you're recording me talking to you.
Yeah, so you have to watch what you say now. You can't talk like you normally talk. So I would tell you a little bit about him, but we want to talk about Father's Day issues. But I will tell you, you should know that my brother is the pastor of Love Fellowship Worship Center in Rochester, New York. And last year, he earned his doctorate degree. And what was the area?
Theological studies.
Theological studies. So there's a doctor in the house.
Yep. What I learned is...
Go ahead. What did you say?
what I learned is when you get your doctors, don't ask your sister to come and speak to your congregation because she say stuff to embarrass you.
Yeah, that's what sisters are for. I mean, we were born to embarrass our brothers and our children. That's our mission. So just count on it. So let's get into it. Before you were dad, you were my brother. How many years apart are we, by the way?
You are 12 years older than me.
You say that with such pride.
Because I know what you're trying to say. Because you always say it
So
all the
you
time.
jumped to the gun.
Who looks the oldest? Who looks the oldest? Well, you're 12 years older than me.
Now, this
good,
is
though.
really interesting. I set myself up for that, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, okay. I'm never going to ask it that way again. So I like to pride myself because people say, now, which of you is older? I just love that question, but I am 12 years older. I don't know if he acts like he's my big brother most of the time. Well, maybe all of the time. I don't know.
See, we can't be just getting in our sibling arguments because, we're in public.
Well, when we get into a serious argument, I pull the big sister card and I say, well, I'm the oldest. And then you see, it seems to calm you down. I don't know.
Yeah, just like it did then.
I seem to win when I can pull out that card.
What is it? Johnny Cash said you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them, right?
Yep, you got to know. You got to know. I think the Bible calls that wisdom. Wisdom. Yeah. So as a dad, well, let me go back just for a second. I wish I could tell our audience more of our history, and because we are extremely close, I think exceptionally so, but it began from the beginning. We lost our mom, and our mom was married to a wonderful dad. He wasn't our biological father, but he was a really great man.
Yep.
And when she passed away, I just felt this burden to go and get my brother, not because he was a bad father. He was a good father. And he taught you a lot of things. You were much younger than me when they got married. But
yeah, I think it started before then.
Okay, go ahead. You tell the story.
Because, I don't ever remember a time, even before our mother passed away, that we weren't close. So I think that when she passed away, yeah, we kind of looked at each other virtually, looked at each other kind of like, well, we're all we got now. And, our mother was not old when she passed away.
No.
And
she was in her mid.
Yeah. Our stepfather, he was a really, really good man.
Mm-hmm.
Hardworking Christian man. He always treated me like I was his son. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I never felt any different.
Yeah.
To him, he was just a really, really good man. And he taught so many lessons, even though he didn't speak a lot. When he spoke, it really meant something. And even today, I remember some of the things that he taught us, but it's not just the words that he said. He really did live it. And he came to my mother. My mother at the time had just you and I. Our brother had already passed away. And she just had 2 kids and she was working well, doing well. And then she married this guy with 8 kids.
She did.
You know what I mean? Yeah. that wasn't normal. That was the recipe for a disaster, really. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't. And I think that we both knew, or if we didn't know it, the Lord knew that he was not supposed to be by himself. And so the Lord was going to bless him in the short term with another wife. He needed to be married. Personally, I just couldn't be a part of that, even though I loved him till the day he passed. Yeah. And we were close even till the day he passed. I just didn't want to live in the house with another woman because I was still grieving my mother.
Yes.
But he needed somebody else. This is what the Lord, and he deserved it. He deserved to be happy. And he did marry a really, really wonderful woman after our mom. He really did. I just couldn't be that close to it. Yeah. And I think you probably felt the same way.
I did.
And it just kind of left us. So I'm saying that because it could be misconstrued as a negative thing, but it really was a positive thing. But I think that our mother brought us up that's your sister, that's your brother, and I think it was just an innate thing in us that you were supposed to look after me.
Yes.
And because of those years, even before she passed away, there were certain things that were instilled into me by our mother and by our father, by our stepfather, that said, no, I understand you may be young. You may only be 14, but, you still got to grow up and be a man. And there's certain principles that you were raised with, and we expect for you to follow through on those.
Yeah, that's so true. I'm glad you added that context because a lot of the details I haven't thought about in a long, long time, and that
Yeah.
is so true. What
No,
led up to that?
we used to sleep in the same bed
We did sleep in the
for a
same
long
bed.
time.
We
You
were
know I was too old to be sleeping in bed with you. But hey, when you got 8 kids in what, 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms, y'all got to double up, triple
we
up.
got to double up, and you were my double, so I
I
had to
don't know
sleep
how
with
we
you.
fit in that house.
Okay, I just need to add one thing. You used to sleepwalk. I've
Yeah.
told you this. You don't remember. You would get up in the night and you would just look like, it was like from a horror movie, the way you would walk around and you would just completely sleep. And I'd be so scared. I didn't want to yell at you. So I said, Jimmy, Jimmy, you're like, it was like from a horror movie. It's like, what's wrong with this kid? He is cuckoo. The other thing you did was you fell somewhere in the house and your head hit the baseboard, the corner of it, and it put a big gash over your eye. You were bleeding. You still have it
Yep.
profusely. Mama was at work, so I took you to emergency. I was in the emergency room and you were laying calmly on the bed and they were doing whatever they do to clean it up and they were going to put stitches in it. And I looked at you and I saw a big hole in your head. And I passed out in the emergency room. When I came to, all the medical staff was around me and you were by yourself.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of stories that maybe one day I hope I can get him together. We can tell a lot more of our stories together. But I did feel like I need to go get my brother. And Mama said it. It's in the obituary. It's in the message rather that Elder Brown preached. He told her. I mean, she told him the same thing. So
Yeah.
it's in writing that I needed to take care of you. And so we're close. So I want to talk
Yep.
about you today as a dad. So let's start by getting to know your family a little bit. So tell us a little bit about your family. And while I got you there, tell us about your kids or your grown-ups, their names,
Okay.
how old they are, and how would you describe their personality and uniqueness?
Okay, so first of all, my wife, as of today, well, not actually today, but as of this year, we've been married for 35 years.
35.
She's my only wife, and no, and she's a country girl at heart, but she's actually from the hood, and she's just a good woman, and so we've been together. We have 2 children. We have Marissa, who's our oldest daughter, and she's 33. And then I have my son, who's 30. So my daughter is a educator, special ed, and she really, I would say, all of her life she's known that she wanted to be an educator, which is not unusual because we come from a family of educators. I
Yes.
mean, all of our lives,
Including
education.
me, I was a special education teacher as well.
Yep. Yep,
Mhm.
yep, and administrator and all that, and so that's just in our DNA. And I, even though I wasn't a teacher, I always loved teaching, and I would say that much of my career, even though it wasn't teaching, it was based on teaching principles. So, but my daughter, she's awesome. She lives just in the next town over, so we get to see her. We get to see her every weekend. There's very few weekends that she doesn't come by and visit. So we're very close. My son, James Jr., he's 30 years old. He's getting married this year, just in a couple weeks.
Yes.
Well, a couple months. He's getting married and he works actually in education, even though he's not an educator. He was a teacher for a while.
Mhm.
Now he sells software to school districts throughout the New York, Connecticut, a couple other states. He sells teaching software, some kind of software. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but he sells something to the school districts as a result of being a teacher.
Yes.
So very smart. Both of my kids are very, very smart. Both of them majored in math and their careers have kind of taken from there. My son
Yeah.
did recently move back to the town where we live, so we get to see him just about every weekend as well. and they're just great kids. They're incredible, and I understand they're 30 and 33, but to me, they're still kids, and I
Oh,
have to remind
absolutely.
them sometimes that they're. I don't care how old you get, we will
Yeah,
never be peers. Just be
absolutely.
real clear,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
so
The relationship changes, but we'll never be
yeah.
peers. Yeah.
Yeah, it was easier when they were smaller. I'd rather have them on
Oh,
my lap. I really
yeah.
would. I really
You know
would.
that saying, they're easier. What is it? It's easier when they're young, they're on your heels. When they become grown, they're on your heart. I'd rather
Yeah,
have them on my heels
yeah.
any day.
We all went to a wedding. One of my son's friends got married and invited us to the wedding. We went to the wedding. It was way out in the country at like an estate kind of place. Beautiful, beautiful place. But we left before everybody else because we don't normally stay. And so we left. And as we were riding back all through these winding country roads, I called my son back and I'm like, "Listen, man, be careful coming home. You
Mhm.
know, just be careful, be careful,
Mhm.
be careful, because it's a lot happening right now.
Yeah.
And it would have been easier when they were smaller, just put them in a car seat and bring them home, right?
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying. I yearn for those days. Lock them up
Yeah,
in the back seat. You know where they are. You
yeah,
know they're safe.
yeah,
So
yeah.
let me ask you this. Is it difficult? Well, let me back up and say, did you have a specific mission or vision for your family,
Well, yeah,
especially as it pertains to your children?
yeah. Well, let me say this too, because I don't want to brush past this.
Okay,
You mentioned it a little earlier. I considered your sons my responsibility as well.
you did.
And so, even though they weren't, my kids, and I wasn't with them every day, you were 750 miles away. I just felt like, you know, if we eat, we eat. All of us eat. If we only got one burger, we're gonna have to split the burger. I remember when I came to Atlanta, when you were transitioning to Atlanta, and
Mhm.
you were looking at an apartment or or a condo or something, and I just felt like, and I remember one of the places you went to, and I said, Alexis, you can't live here. I don't know if you remember that. I was like, you can't live here. Because I was thinking,
Mhm.
even though we're not in the same city, I wouldn't have my family live there. And because of that, I
Mhm.
don't want you and Herman and Brandon to live there either.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I just looked at it that way. And along with holidays and stuff like that, it was like, okay, you're 700 miles away. It's still important that we are together.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
I looked at it that way. Now, you asked me another question. I can't remember what the question was.
The
Um,
mission and vision for your
the mission.
family, which
Okay,
really
so
was your family and, as you just alluded to,
yeah,
our family, because it was
yeah.
extended. But yeah, the mission and
But with our
vision.
family, my wife and I, we talked a lot about family before we got married, and our agreement was, or our understanding was that when we got married, she would stay home with the children. So as soon as we start having children, she would stay home and she would manage the house, and then I would go out and work. And I was fairly committed to. I don't care whether I got to have one job, two jobs, three jobs, and a side hustle. It didn't matter to me. I really wanted my wife to be home with my children. And I will tell you that she had the same values, and she worked up until the time, she was pregnant with my first child. I mean, I don't remember whether she was pregnant when she stopped working or whether it was right after she gave birth, but during that time, so we went, what, 20 something years where
Mhm.
she was a stay-home mom, and she was incredible. I
Yeah.
mean, never gave me a hard time about working, because I traveled a lot, and
Mhm.
never an issue. When I came home, the house was clean, the kids were fed, they looked good, dinner was ready. She was a old fashioned kind of
Yeah.
girl, but and it I believe it worked. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it. My kids enjoyed it. We traveled, we did what we had to do. We kept the house a little longer than or kept cars a little longer than we could if both of us were working. We maybe didn't live in the biggest house, but it was a great time. And I think my
Mhm.
kids look back on those memories fondly
Yeah.
because they weren't latchkey kids.
Mhm.
They had a mama, they had a daddy, they could come
Mhm.
home, and meals were ready. My wife
Yeah.
is an excellent cook.
Yes,
And
she
so
is.
she would make, good
Mhm.
meals for my kids.
Mhm.
And so that was kind of our image of our family. The problem is we never thought beyond that. We
What do
never
you
thought
mean? Say
about
more about that.
Yeah, we never thought about one day these kids are gonna have their own life, and they may
Yeah,
not want to,
yeah.
they may not want to live in our house anymore. We never thought we would get out of car seats.
Yeah,
We figured we would. You might as well just make the car seat the back seat because
yeah,
they'll be in a car seat forever.
yeah.
So
That is
so
so
that
true. So true.
yeah, that was our
Yeah,
vision.
yeah.
That was our vision. We knew that we'd bring them up in church because both Terry and I have been in church all our lives. And so
Uh,
we knew that that would always be a foundation for them.
yeah. I just want to say she's such she's beautiful and she's talented. I don't want to butt that. She's a model of how to make a house a home.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and not just because of her skills to design the home. She really could be a successful interior designer, but she feels it not only beautifully aesthetically, but she feels it with so much warmth. I mean,
Yeah.
I cannot tell you the things that I've gleaned from her. I said Terry would do this. One thing I'll say to the audience is she would boil cinnamon in water just to make the house smell good.
And
Oh
apple.
my
She put apple in there too.
Oh yeah, apple. I forgot about the apple.
Apple and
You
water.
see, the last time I did it, I just did cinnamon because I forgot about the apple.
Yep.
Okay. But anyway, so I want to get on to you. Is it difficult being a man of faith because you've been a first of all, people don't know that you played the drums. You grew up playing the drums. That's another story.
It was
But
my
in the
hobby.
church as a
That was my hobby.
that was your hobby. I still remember the beat. That was over 40 years ago, 50 years ago. You've been a deacon, you've been a minister, you're a founder and now a pastor of a church, all while being a husband and a father. How did you do that? How do you do that? And how do you keep going?
Well, it's not by my own power. And there are many days I ask myself the same question. But it just seems like the Lord gives me strength for the journey. I mean,
Mhm.
He's never failed me yet. I've never needed Him,
Yeah,
and I found Him.
yeah,
I've never sought Him and not been met with Him. I've
yeah.
never. I look back at it on times and wonder how, like that song, "How I Made It Over." I look
I
back
got
at my life.
over.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know how I made it. The Lord's grace just covered me.
You're also an entrepreneur. Tell us about that.
I have a radio station, streaming radio station, rspirit.online, Stella nominated, and I'm grateful. It's kind of like a cross between a business, a hobby, and a ministry because I enjoy doing it and producing it and introducing it to the audience. I really, really enjoy the sponsors that air their shows. We do roughly 32 shows a week that we produce here in the studio. And so I enjoy it. But it's also ministry because it is a gospel radio station. And, it ministers to people. So many testimonies we've heard about how the station has impacted people and
Yeah.
miracles sign. There was a young girl, her grandmother was with her in the hospital. And, I heard she was like 13. Her body really was not prepared to give birth.
Mm,
And she was just having a hard time in labor. And somebody told one of the on air personalities said, turn on our spirit, And the mother turned on our spirit and it relaxed the young lady. They
yeah.
started praying and that baby came on out of there healthy.
Yeah. We never know when God leads us to do certain things, who's going to be touched. That's why it's just important for us not to question and just to
Yeah.
obey, right? That's an example of that.
I believe that somebody was listening to our spirit and they were about to do something that would have changed the trajectory of their lives and their family. But because they were encouraged by the station, I believe that the Lord stepped in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
So that's what we do.
I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Now, you can answer quickly, or if you need more than a quick answer, take it. The reason I'm doing that is because I know I don't have much time with you. You already got workers outside who might come in and interrupt our session. But I have so much I want the audience to hear about you. So don't feel pressed, but I'm going to try to see how many I can get through.
Okay.
Here's my next question.
Yeah.
If your kids were superheroes, what would their superpowers be?
I think intelligence. I know it's not a
Well,
super,
that's
but
okay.
yeah, they're smart. I mean, my kids are really, really smart. You know, they are really, really, really smart. My daughter's not that far away from her doctorate. She's got two masters. My son is just brilliant. He's his side hustle is a what do you call it? A social media influencer.
Influencer.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just incredible stuff,
Yeah.
that they're able to put together and figure out. And they're tremendous, here in our church and just helping us with the technology. They can
Mhm.
figure stuff out.
Yeah, I agree. And there's so much we can talk about. I want to talk about you, but you are absolutely right. When I watch James's videos, I'm just like, how does he do that?
Yeah, you can go
And
see it.
then
It's
Marissa,
James Cooper, the James Cooper. I think that's what his handle is
say
on
it again.
the James Cooper.
Okay, on TikTok. If you haven't followed him, look him up. You will be so impressed. And not just the way he does it, the content is so useful.
Yeah,
So, anyway, follow James. And she likes traveling and she likes cruising, to be specific, but she can put together a cruise package for you. I can't wait to have her do that for me. But
yeah.
anyway, I want to get on. What has each of your children taught you about life?
Okay, I think that James has taught me that you got to accept people for who they are. He's really, really good at surrounding himself with good-hearted people, and that's something that I've learned from him. He's got a tender heart, which I struggle with sometimes. So that he taught me. Marissa has taught me patience.
Mhm.
That you really gotta, just be patient and sometimes hear beyond what's being said and to understand that there may be an emotion behind the person's actions. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you think of a dad moment for which you would want a do-over?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Name one.
Well, my son dealt with anxiety and I didn't understand anxiety at the time. I really just didn't. We were in a situation where we were at a sports event and both of my kids were great athletes. My son took it to several other levels, but
Yes.
my daughter was a great athlete as well. And we were at a tournament and for whatever reason, James just couldn't seem to get himself together to go and play in this tournament. I don't know what was going on. I don't know what was the trigger, but something causes an anxiety, and I didn't
Mhm.
understand it.
Mhm.
And I just kept pushing him and pushing him and pushing him and pushing him. You got to get in there. The team is waiting on you. And it's never dawned on me because I'd never seen anxiety before, not
Yes.
this way. And
Yes.
so that wasn't it. I thought he was just being defiant
Mhm.
or being a chump.
Mhm.
uh I just didn't understand it. And I apologized to him, years later once I understood
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't understand it. And if I
Yeah.
could redo that moment,
Mhm.
I would in a
Yeah.
heartbeat.
Yeah. On the flip side of that, we all have those moments, by the way. I know exactly what you mean. But can you think of a dad moment that went so well, you'd want to do it again and maybe even bottle it up and sell it?
Well, okay, it goes back to my son again. But say that again. Yeah, we were living in California at the time, and it was Christmas. And I bought James this little toy that, it was like a little truck, but it had really
Mhm.
big wheels on it, and it would roll, and he had a remote control. And what would happen is it would go, if it ran into a wall, it would flip over and keep going. If it ran into something, it would just kind of go over everything. And the wheels would turn and flip and all that. And it was a great little toy, but it was a cheap toy. We bought it at the flea market in California. And naturally, the toy broke. And so this little boy brings this toy to me with full confidence that I could fix this toy.
Yes, Dad.
He brought it to me with this look in his eyes like, Dad, my toy it broke. Please fix it. And I'm looking at this toy and I'm like, okay, I'll change the batteries. I'll do all this stuff. but I had no idea what was wrong with this toy.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is all of a sudden the toy started working and he looked at me like, wow, Dad. He looked,
My hero.
to
My
this
hero.
day, I have no idea what happened to that toy, but all of a sudden it just started working. And listen, at least for the next couple days, I was the greatest dad in the world.
Yeah, you could bottle that up and sell it.
I have no idea what I did to that toy, but it probably wasn't even nothing I did. But it all of a sudden started working. He just looked at me like, wow.
I know that look that he has. Okay, I'm going to keep moving. Which of your kids do you think is most like you? And here's my follow-up question. I'm just going to go ahead and ask it so you can answer both. And which one reminds you of me?
Okay. Okay. Both are Marissa. Okay. But for different reasons. I think that Marissa and I are alike from a drive perspective. I mean,
You drive.
we go after something, we gonna figure it out and make it work.
Yeah.
I think that her personality is probably more like me. When I'm on a mission, it's no nonsense. We got to get this thing done, And I think her and I are more alike from that perspective. And sometimes um, we're so hard driving, people think that we're cold or whatever. But I'm just we're just alike. Temperament sometimes is very, very similar. But James, I think, looks more like me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On the other side of it, I think that you and Marissa, y'all split an image. I mean, y'all really look alike. Same color, same hair color, because y'all hair not black and it's got a little brownish red to it. You know,
Yeah.
and she's the same way. So y'all kind of look alike.
What is something your kids have done, could be big or small, that made you stop and think, wow, Terry and I might have just created some awesome human beings.
I mean, I feel that way almost every day, sis. So it's hard to pick out,
Yeah.
one thing. But certainly when the milestones in their lives, when they
Yeah.
graduate from college, you see them, your first day of work, there's so many. When you see them speak in public or just meet people or you just happen to glance across the room and you see this independent person
Mm-hmm.
is just amazing. My daughter, so we're empty nesters, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so from Sunday until Friday, our house is nice and quiet and calm. I mean, if you set something down, it's there when you come back. If the table is perfectly cleaned off, when we leave, we come back and it's perfectly cleaned off. Whatever station we left the television on, when we turn it back on, it's back on that same station, right? But my daughter, when on Fridays, she normally comes over on Fridays after work, and the house is nice and quiet. Me and Terry, we could be sitting in the living room or at the kitchen table, and then all of a sudden the door just flies open. Bam! And she screams, "I'm home!" And it lights up the house, causes chaos for the next 2 days. It's just, and she loves WNBA, and she watches it and she really gets into it.
Really?
And she's screaming, and that's, it's just a delight
She brings life.
to, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
delight to see, a delight to experience. And I'm so very, very grateful that they even want to come.
Yeah. Want to come back home. You're right.
Yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's
So
something
on
not to take for
Thursdays,
granted.
right, right. So on Thursday or early Friday morning, we had to run to the grocery store, get some of her favorite things, like her, um, what do you call it? Cold pressed apple juice.
Mm-hmm.
She's 33 years old. Her daddy running around getting her cold pressed apple juice because my daughter like apple juice.
That's
I
what we
love it.
do. That's what
I
we do
love
as
it.
parents. It'll never stop.
Yeah.
I want to go back for a second to some memories with you before James and Marissa, just for a moment, and how you helped me to parent Herman and Brandon. Memories stand out to you with your nephews, some things that we experienced. And do you ever find yourself parenting, or did you? Because now your kids are grown and, like you said, you're empty nesters. And you say, yep, that's exactly what I did or what I said to my nephews back in the day. So, what memories would you share about experiences with Herman and Brandon?
The one we had we we had built. Okay, it happened twice actually. I'll tell you about the last time. We had built just this was the result of years and years of hard work, moving across the country and back and all that. And we built this house. We built
Mhm.
this house, and it had two staircases, right? One in the front of the house and one in the back of the house. And the
Right.
one in the front of the house in the main area when you walked in was this big two-story stairway that kind of came across the hallway and down the hall, and then it kind of went in circular sections to bring you down to the first level, right?
Mhm.
And so I believe it was Christmas, if I'm not mistaken. But Herman and Brandon were running through the house, just having a good time. That's what they did, right? They were running through the house. But I don't think they realized how big they were, right? So they're running through the house, and I don't know who was chasing who, but they were chasing each other. And they ran down the stairs, and it was all hardwood floors, and they had on their socks, so they were sliding, right? You remember what I'm talking about? And they got to the bottom of the stairs and tried to turn around, and they started sliding, and they grabbed the stairwells and pulled the stairwell all the way down. I'm like, y'all done lost your mind. And I can just hear all of those I don't know what you call those little rails. You could just hear them collapsing like dominoes. I'm like, oh my God, what are we going to do to fix this? Oh God. I mean, right in the main entrance to this house, I'm like, my God, how are we going to fix this? But that was one memory. And I
Oh,
remember, and the thing that was unique about it was that when I was a kid, I wrecked my mom and my dad's car at the same time. You remember that? And yours, all at the
and
same time.
mine.
I ran all the cars in the driveway. I just ran into all of them. And I remember thinking that my dad is going to be so mad. I'm going to get a whooping. I mean, it's going to be bad. And I remember my dad, he didn't respond that way. It was like, son, I know you were wrong. And I know you're going to beat yourself up. I don't need to pile on,
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I wasn't mad. I wasn't mad, and I didn't try to punish them or anything like that. I really
Mhm.
didn't. I knew they felt bad about it,
Yeah.
and that was cool. Things
Yeah.
happened. They were boys, and it just
They
kind of
could tear
happened.
up a house, brother. They
Man,
could tear up a house.
you
I'm
cannot
telling you.
imagine.
You just reminded me of the holes in the walls and the stairs, and I
Yeah,
was like, "Oh my
yeah.
goodness." My
But
goodness.
even Herman and Brandon, they were good kids. I mean, yeah, you tore the stairrail down in my dream home, but they were good kids. I mean, it wasn't I don't know. It just wasn't. It
Yeah.
happens. It
Yeah.
happens. They're boys. If it wasn't them, it was probably me. I did it too,
No.
and I knew they were good kids.
I thank you for the justification, but they were rough on the home, I'm telling you.
But yeah, but they like 6'6". I mean,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do? Wearing 18 shoes when they were 13. What are you gonna do? I mean, they're just kids.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
just boys. But their hearts
Mhm.
were always good. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't ever
they're good
recall a
boys. They're
time
good
where
boys.
Herman or Brandon's heart wasn't right.
Mhm.
They were just
Yeah,
they were simply playing. And I'm assuming
yeah,
if it was around Christmas, we're in Rochester, New York. I mean, just you can't run around here. You just can't go outside all the time because it's cold.
yeah,
So, but it was all good.
yeah. Well,
We got
listen,
it
I'll
fixed
tell you
somehow.
the Christmases that we spent, Herman and Brandon and I would pack up and we would always look forward to Christmas in Rochester. One reason was we had moved to Atlanta and we wanted to get to the snow and the cold. You all didn't appreciate it, but we did.
Not
So
even
we have
close.
lots of memories and sitting down, and Terry would always make the tree so beautiful. And if she wrapped a gift, it looked like it was professionally wrapped. And so we'd sit there on Christmas morning and you'd make me, because in the house in Victor, upstairs was your big family room. So we would sit up there first. James was so anxious to get to the gifts, but we would have to sit there and you'd make me read the Christmas story before we all came down. Yeah.
They hated it.
They
They hated it.
hated
It was
it.
like, how
You
much
and I were
longer is
like,
this
yes,
story?
hated it. They hated it. It was torture. It was like
Yeah,
we were punishing them. Before you open a gift, you have to earn it and you must endure the Christmas story.
yeah.
So we had some really good memories and I love it. So let me get back before we run out of time. Let's see. I want to ask one last question, but before I do, here's what I want to say. No, I'll wait and say that. Let me ask my question because I don't want to run out of time. I want to give you the time. What is your ultimate dad wisdom or life lesson that you hope your kids and even mine carry with them forever? And when I wrote this question, I thought about how you always end your Bible studies and you'd say, "What's your takeaway from?" So, what's your takeaway from all the years of parenting James, Marissa, as well as Herman and Brandon? What's your ultimate dad wisdom or life lesson you hope they just hold on to forever?
Okay. Well, let me, can I reframe the question?
Yes, absolutely.
And I say this because I want to be an encouragement to other fathers. And a liberating moment for me was probably 20 years ago when I came to the realization that I didn't have to be a perfect father. I just needed to point my kids to the perfect father. That was a liberating moment for me. That took a lot of burden off of me when I guess I knew it, but when I really knew it,
Yeah.
when I really accepted it. And the greatest gift that we could ever give our kids really is the knowledge and the wisdom of Christ. That was a turning point. And not that they're always gonna receive it or do or anything like that. You know, they gotta run their own course. But just to know that even though I'm not a perfect father, which I'm not, I know a perfect father. And whether I'm here or whether I'm gone, that father will always be here. And
Yes.
if they ever need an answer, ever need anything, that father would provide when I'm no longer available or cannot provide, or I'm
Yeah.
imperfect to provide, or not
Yeah.
willing to provide. That
Yeah.
father will be a great father. That
Yeah.
was a liberating moment to me. And I think that
And
helped me and it helped my kids. I just think that's a principle that has carried me for many years.
thank
Because
you for
we're not
that.
going to do everything right. We're gonna get a whole lot of things wrong. So that was a liberating moment for me,
Yeah.
and
Thank you
yeah,
for
and I hope the
sharing.
fathers will take that. You don't have to be the perfect father. Just point your kids to the perfect father.
Yeah. Well, what a gift this conversation has been. I knew I'd laugh because you always have people laughing. And I knew I'd walk away feeling proud and inspired and even more grateful for you as my brother who's always been by my side. I don't say it enough. I take you for granted and I call on you when I need you. And when you don't come through, I get upset with you. Like, what's the problem? Or as Martin Lawrence would say, what the problem is. But today, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you. You've not only been a wonderful father to your own children, but you've been a father figure, a friend, and a real life hero to my boys as well. And for that, for your love, for your wisdom, your perseverance, your crazy sense of humor, I am forever thankful. And to all the listeners out there, I hope this
Before you
reminds
say that,
you.
I got to tell you this.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
would also say you are a great sister, and I'm so grateful that the Lord blessed me with you. I'm so
Thank
grateful.
you. I got that on tape so I can press repeat often,
Anytime
especially
you,
when I get on your nerves.
if you don't want to press repeat, you call me. Even when I'm mad at you, you're still a great sister, and
Well,
I'm so
that's true.
grateful. I wouldn't want another sister like you because I couldn't handle another one. I got 3 women in my life. I'm about to get 4, right? And man, if I could keep y'all happy at the same time, Lord Jesus, that's euphoria.
Well, I'm going to prepare you. You won't be able to do it. We just won't let you. But keep trying. We like it when you try. We love it when you try. So thank you from my whole heart for being you. I love you. I admire you. And I'm so glad that we got the world to hear your story, our story, and your perspective about what it means and has meant to you to be a dad. So thank you.
Well, I love you too.
And thank you to our listening audience. This is Get Real with Alexis. I hope that you'll join us on another podcast episode. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. We want to hear what you have to say. But to all of our fathers out there, we'll say, that's your cue.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day. See you next time.
Uncle Jimmy, what's going on, man? It's Brandon. Just want to wish you a happy belated Father's Day, by the way. But yeah, man, I just want to say that I really appreciate just over the years how you've always kind of been that father figure. You've been in our lives, since we were born. You kind of filled in that gap after, parents got divorced. So thank you so much for just even, sacrificing time and finances over the years to help out Mom, to help out me and Herman. And even for all the times I don't even know about, but just having your support, just having you as an example as a man. Examples, your style, your swag, your kindness, your humor, all that stuff, man. I picked up a lot of that from you. So I just want to say thank you and I love you and God bless.